Today on PhotoBeast, cracking the code to shooting in manual mode. Stick around. After shooting over 400,000 photos with my Canon R5, I found the best way to set it up for speed, accuracy, and reliability. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how. Now, most people don't set up their cameras this way and they end up fighting their gear instead of focusing on the shot. So let's fix that. Why this setup works. I've spent years fine-tuning this setup, testing it in low light, fast action, and extreme conditions. What I'm about to show you isn't just theory. This is what actually works when you need results fast. Manual mode plus auto ISO with limits. Let's talk about exposure. I shoot in manual mode with auto ISO. Why? Because it gives me full control over my shutter speed and aperture while the camera handles lighting changes instantly. That way, I'm never caught off guard. But here's the key. If you don't cap your auto ISO, you'll end up with way too much noise in low light. My R5 can go up to 51,200 ISO, but let's be real. At that point, you're losing serious detail. So I cap mine at 12,800 because that's where I get usable images. Beyond that, it falls apart. Here's 30 images with ISO 12,800. Autofocus, it's where most people slow themselves down. If you're still using your shutter button to focus, you're missing out. Instead, use back button autofocus. It separates focusing from shooting, giving you full control. Here's how I set mine up. Primary back button, eye tracking. Autofocus, side button next to it, adjust autofocus area from large to small to full screen and then back again. And I'll show you that in just a second. Now this setup lets me instantly switch from full body to precise eye focus without digging in the menus. For instance, why would you want to have a single point and then go to eye autofocus? Well, in the case of if this bird started moving around the perch or the tree limb, all I have to do is hold this button and now it's going to follow the bird by itself. So all the work's done. And you can also recompose your shot, which is also great. Your shutter wheel is obvious, but if you have multiple dials, here's how to set them up for the fastest adjustments. Wheel number 1, that's your shutter speed. Wheel number 2, aperture, and wheel 3, exposure compensation. It's that simple. This setup means that you're never fumbling through menus while trying to capture the moment. Every setting is exactly where you need it. Let's put this to the test. I'm going to shoot in real time, adjusting settings as I go to show you why this setup works. All right.
Green because of the lighting.
So as you can see, guys, I'm locked in. I can go down. I have a stationary bird, so I can go down to ISO. Now I'm here at the beach using the R7 with only 2 wheels instead of 3, and it works just fine. I got 1 wheel for the shutter. The wheel on the back is my exposure compensation, and that's all I need is the 2 main wheels. My aperture usually stays locked, like in this case 800 f11. It's fixed. I'm locked in. I can go down. I have a stationary bird, so I can go down to ISO 400 if my shutter speed's 500, and that takes away any wiggle or anything like that. So by taking this picture, and you can see the histogram in the middle is all midtones, which is great. You don't want the histogram to be all the way to the right or the left. And then lastly, this right here is our exposure compensation. What I meant by designating a wheel is sometimes when you do your exposure, you might get an image that's blown out like this. Well, just turn down your exposure compensation and you can go darker or lighter. So now I've got shutter speed here, exposure compensation there, and that's the only 2 things I have to fuss with. And lastly, on the back of the screen, if you see the focal points as 9, That's fine in this situation, but I usually like to use a fine single point so I can lock on the bird's eye. Then I use back button autofocus. Immediately after that, I'll hit the button right to the right of it, and then I'll lock on the bird's eyeball with the AI eye detection autofocus. If I was to go out to the house out here, for instance, you can see the house is a lot bigger, right? Let me lock that in. I'm sorry, wiggling. But if I lock that in right there, can you see that at all, Sharon?
Yeah, I can see it.
All right, now if I was to take a picture of that and say the camera wants to make it too bright, all I gotta do is just go up and down with the wheel. So all you gotta do is think about shutter speed. I need fast for flight. I need slow for perched. Then all you gotta think about is, okay, is it too bright or too dark? I wanna add light or take away light. That's all we're doing with these settings. So when I tell you to go into manual mode, please do not be intimidated, because basically all you need is 2 fingers. One for shutter, one for exposure, and that's it. Just think, does my picture need to be brighter or darker, or am I shooting a fast subject or a slow subject? If you can figure out those 4 things, you can shoot in manual mode. So I have 3 wheels with the R5. Some cameras and most cameras come with 2 wheels. Now if you look here, I got shutter, aperture, ISO, okay? What I do is just set the aperture, forget about it. Now Sharon has shutter, exposure compensation here. In my R7, she has the R8, so it has the same 2 wheels, shutter speed, exposure compensation. That's all you need to roll with when you're doing these types of pictures. And it's that easy, is it not, Sharon? As a new photographer, she never used auto, she never used aperture priority or shutter priority. She literally, from the first day she got her camera, I said, here's this camera, here's this setting, here you go, honey. And she was shooting great bird pictures from day one. It's literally that easy. So just don't overcomplicate it, and you just have fun with it. That's what this is all about. It's about also not just getting these great shots, but it's about getting out in nature and having a good time. That's it, guys. I just wanted to simplify manual with auto ISO for you, and hopefully if you try these settings, you'll get these very, very good shots. If you have any questions at all, just put them in the comment section, and me, myself, or Sharon will get back to you as soon as we read it, okay? Thank you, guys. We're gonna sit out here for a little bit and get some other cool shots, and like I said, if you have any questions, just comment below. See how fast that was? No digging through menus, no second guessing, just shooting. Now you might be wondering, when should you push your ISO higher? And when will it ruin your shot? In the next video, we're going to break down real world examples of when high ISO actually helps and when it destroys your image. Plus, we'll dive into the science behind how noise affects your final shot. So if you want to master low light photography, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Trust me, you won't want to miss this one. Thank you, guys. Like, share, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. God bless.